House Selmy of Harvest Hall is one of the larger principal noble houses of the Stormlands. Once sworn to the Storm Kings of House Durrandon after Aegon's conquest of Westeros, they are now sworn to their successors, House Baratheon. Its seat is Harvest Hall in the Dornish marches, making them among the Marcher Lords, whom protect the southernmost border of the kingdom from Dornish raiders, until Dorne eventually joined the domain of House Targaryen. They blazon their arms with 3 stalks of yellow wheat on brown. According to some sources, House Selmy are only landed knights and not lords. Other sources conflict this and lists the head of the house during the timeline of the main book series as Barristan Selmy, a full lord, making the Selmys Marcher Lords. Much of House Selmy's early history is not recorded in sources we have knowledge of, thus the contradiction as to when and if they were raised from landed knights to lords. The first true notable member of House Selmy is in fact Sir Barristan Selmy, born in 236 AC, also known as Barristan the Bold, one of the greatest knights of the Kingsguard in its long, storied history. He served 3 kings, Jaehaerys II, King Aerys II, the Mad King, and then after Robert's rebellion, he served as Lord Commander for the new King Robert Baratheon. Barristan is the eldest son of Sir Lionel Selmy. At one time, he was in line to inherit the seat of House Selmy, but Barristan gave up his claim to the title and its lands after becoming a member of the Kingsguard. His cousin would go on to marry the girl destined for Barristan, should he have become lord, and may have also have taken over Barristan's claim to Harvest Hall. At a tourney at Blackhaven, near their own seat of Harvest Hall, a 10-year-old Barristan Selmy entered into the lists as a mystery knight. Prince Duncan Targaryen, the son and heir to King Aegon V Targaryen, took pity on the small mystery knight, while others laughed. Duncan jousted with Barristan when no one else would, ultimately unhorsing him. The sheer boldness of the young Barristan entering the lists at such a young age and giving a good account of himself earned him the nickname The Bold, coined by Prince Duncan himself. Barristan would later go on to squire for Sir Manfred Swan, the Lord of Stonehelm, another Marcher Lord. After unhorsing Prince Duncan Targaryen and Sir Duncan the Tall of the Kingsguard at the winter tourney in King's Landing, he was knighted by King Aegon V himself, an immensely successful tourney knight throughout his career. Barristan also proved his worth on the battlefield. During the War of the Ninepenny Kings, Barristan slew Maelys I Blackfyre in single combat, thus ending the male line of the Blackfyres. Barristan cut a bloody path through the Golden Company to reach Maelys. The remaining members of the Banded Nine had little to no interest in conquering Westeros, and soon returned to their own domains. Barristan's deeds during the war gained him undying fame, and his name was well known throughout the 7 Kingdoms afterwards. He was named to the Kingsguard at the age of 23, and swore his vows before Sir Gerald Hightower, the then Lord Commander, while King Jaehaerys II Targaryen bestowed the White Cloak on him. In joining the Kingsguard, he gave up his claim to his family seat, and the girl he was to wed was married to his cousin instead, who would later go on to become lord. Barristan continued to serve in the Kingsguard after Jaehaerys died, and Aerys II Targaryen ascended the throne in 277 AC during the Defiance of Duskendale. King Aerys had been held hostage inside the town for half a year. Lord Tywin Lannister, the then Hand of the King, was planning to storm Duskendale, but Barristan offered to personally attempt to retrieve the captive Aerys himself. Knowing if Tywin assaulted the town, Aerys would certainly have been killed. Tywin gave him a day. Disguised and in the dead of night, Barristan climbed the walls of Duskendale, wherein he freed Aerys from the dungeons. During the escape, Barristan slew 2 guards, and Sir Simon Hollard. Barristan and Aerys rushed to the stables, with the knight fending off those who tried to intervene. The pair charged out of the Dunfort Gate and escaped through the streets of Duskendale. Barristan took an arrow to the chest during the rescue, but it was only a minor wound. Many songs have since been sung of Barristan's deeds at Duskendale. Later, when the band of outlaws, known as the Kingswood Brotherhood, caused problems throughout the Kingswood surrounding King's Landing, the King Aerys sent his Kingsguard on a campaign in the Kingswood to deal with them. Barristan rescued Lady Jane Swan and her scepter and killed the bandit leader, Sir Simon Tone, in single combat. During the tourney at Storm's End, Barristan would defeat Aerys' heir, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, in the final joust, winning yet another tourney. However, Barristan had greater difficulty keeping his vows in the later years of Aerys' reign, as the king became madder and crueler. Like his other sworn brothers of the Kingsguard, Barristan was present at the tourney at Harrenhal. He was infatuated by Ashara Dane, though he knew nothing could come of his desires for her. Barristan planned on naming her the Queen of Love and Beauty if he won the tourney, but the knight was unhorsed by Rhaegar. Years later, Barristan wondered if he could have averted the war if he had defeated Rhaegar that day. He also fantasized if he had won the tourney and crowned Ashara, perhaps she would have turned to him instead of Stark. He thinks of the consequences of the unspoken love for Ashara as one of his many failures. During Robert Baratheon's rebellion, after the defeat of Lord John Connington at the Battle of the Bells, Barristan was sent to rally the remnants of the Loyalist army. Barristan fought in the Battle of the Trident, in which he was wounded by an arrow, spear, and sword, or slaying over a dozen friends of Lord Robert Baratheon and Eddard Stark. After the battle, Lord Roose Bolton consulted that Barristan's throat should be cut, but Robert instead called for his own maester to attend to the knight's wounds, thanks to the bravery and valour that the knight showed during the battle, earning Robert's respect. After the Battle of the Trident, Barristan considered taking out Prince Viserys Targaryen, who would technically be the Targaryen claimant to the throne. But the exiled prince was too young to rule in his own right, and by all accounts had already begun showing signs of the so-called Targaryen madness. Because the lives of Barristan and so many others had chivalrously been spared during the war by the new king, Robert Baratheon, Barristan instead took Robert's pardon and was named Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Having already had reservations about Sir Jaime Lannister's role in the Kingsguard due to the youth's age and inexperience, Barristan did not approve of Robert allowing Jaime to continue his service after having killed King Aerys in the sack of King's Landing. Barristan was known to say that the Kingslayer's white cloak should have been traded for a black one, and he should have been sent to the Night's Watch.